Convos with friends. Convos with friends. Here we are today on Convos with Friends, and joined here by MC Sugar Ray, MC bboy Sugar Ray, first generation hip hopper from 1983, originally from the bboy crew's Sonic Street Rockers, along with myself, and we also, around about 1987, both Ray and I formed Royalty Rock with Beatbox Silk, and we were doing gigs around clubs around, well, actually no, just one club, Jules. 1988, was that around right? So, would you agree with that, Ray? No?
I've actually got footage of the very first rap gig I did at the old Merlin Hotel, and you and your girlfriend were my backup dancers. Yeah, man, so that's kind of where the scene started. That would have been 87, so we were both 18 years old, and I think we did one or two gigs. And that was kind of where it all... And you had started DJing, but you weren't like DJing.
Right.
You were just playing with it,
right,
sussing it out. You know, you made the backing tape. I think I rapped over The Adventures of Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel.
Oh, you're talking about the first time I DJ'd?
No, when I rapped. Oh no, actually, it was that the instrumental to that Hot Pursuit, maybe.
Yes, it was.
Or yeah, that's right.
We got of Kev.
That's right. Yeah.
But we did.
Yeah, and you know, you guys were doing like a mad locking routine. And I think you did some b-boying, and I was just emceeing, and. You know, it doesn't sound like much, and when you look at it, it doesn't even look like much, but it was like there was no one doing it.
That's right.
There was no one doing it. There was, you know, we were kind of the first to do it, and then from there, everything just really happened really fast, man. Like, you know, next minute, you know, there's some block party in Fremantle somewhere, and you know, I'm probably mixing up all the things that we did during those 80s, but there was always something happening. You know, we got the gig at Jules. We did the radio show.
So the thing is,
there was a lot of things.
Everything that you're describing, I'm going to be flashing on this screen
cool,
behind
man.
us.
Yeah,
you know, like when you give me that footage.
Crazy. It was crazy.
I'll whack
100%. 100%.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Look, that's a little intro just to hopefully give us some credibility, because as far as the underground hip hop scene goes, we claim to be, you know, at the beginning, at the forefront of it, and it kind of feels a little bit pathetic. Like after all this time, you and I are still walking around going, "Oh, look what we did," and unfortunately, there's a reason why we have that approach to things, which for me, I'm speaking for myself alone. It feels pathetic. Not that I want fanfares when we arrive at hip hop events either, but there should be some middle ground that should have happened for us. What we're discussing, the reason why Ray and I have gotten together here, we'd like to discuss the beginning of the hip hop scene in Australia specifically. There were some compilations that were released, like Down Under by Law and a few others, I think. I can understand being excluded, you know, us being excluded from that in particular, simply because everything on that release, I believe, was previously released on a label of some sort. So they were all... you know, they were all official releases, and you know, to be honest, we hadn't done that yet. You know, that's fair. I'm more referring to docos and stuff that happened later, or I can't even remember the names of them. But when things went on, that we were always excluded. Yeah, we've done stuff, WA. I have to say, I don't know if you remember, but when I was living in Melbourne, you rang me and you said that, do you remember Express magazine? They had done a list of, I think it was like the 10 most influential DJs in WA, and I didn't make the cut in the list. You read it out to me. Sure, I didn't DJ for a really, really long period in clubs, although I did work in clubs. But, dude, I first person to represent WA at the DMC. Before that, I mean, working in clubs, as a proper hip-hop DJ behind MCs, yourself in Royalty Rock with Silk Beatboxing, as well as, Rockaways Productions, Money J and Cash Tip. And Perfexi, I worked for a long time, not as a club DJ, but as a hip-hop DJ specifically, and I don't remember anyone else doing that. I really don't. Not at the very beginning, not at that period you're talking about when we had those Jules gigs and all that. There was no one else doing it. I'm talking about going out there weekly and doing paid gigs every week. There was just us. I'm talking about locally, but there was just us. Not at the very beginning, it was just us. And because I didn't make the cut, I mean, I felt really offended. So that was the driving force behind me doing the Streets of Perth past and present, as well as the magazine out of necessity. That's why I did them. Yep. Anyway, I said it. But that's what we're chatting about this, right? What's something I wanted to bring up? I don't want to come across as nitpicky or anything, but did you ever see the Countdown Flashdance dance competition? This was won by Stephen Birdie. Yeah. Now, I remember, this is before I met you guys, I was personally at breakin yet.
We didn't know what it was.
Yeah, because it's actually August 83. I've got it right here, right?
So, okay.
Now, the thing is, it's interesting because...
Oh, have you got it on?
It's here. This is here.
Yeah, wicked.
When you look at it, all of the other states mostly had... I don't want to make it sound disrespectful, but the movie had already come out. That was our first taste. For me, personally, all I saw was the Rocksteady crew, because that stuff really stuck out in that movie. That's the only reason I was excited to see that film.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is...
Which film?
Flashdance. Right?
I thought you were talking about that. Okay.
So the movie must have come out, and then this dance competition, which says August 1983 here. On Countdown. What's interesting is all the other states had either women jogging on the spot with leg warmers, like the Irene Cara or whatever her name was, Jennifer Beal character in the right?
Yes.
Or there was like a guy. There was a guy from Tasmania. I'll show all this as well, and I'll show you. Who had this undeveloped kind of solo guy, right? Tasmania. And he's like doing this kind of almost top rocky thing, almost arm wave, not arm wavy thing, sort of like locking.
Early stages,
right?
Very
on his
early,
own. Got boring because, it's just one guy. And then I think Melbourne had a guy that like did this early looking style of popping wavy thing, like the black shirt, white pants, trilby hat style. And then Stephen Birdie get on there, right? Now the fact that there's two of them together, and they're doing this. It's not the best backspin. It's a really undeveloped arm wave. Again, I'll show you, right? But the fact that they're doing this routine and this locking, it obviously was the best. But my point is, how come WA was that? To me, it was relatively advanced compared to the other states. And I'm saying it that way because I can remember how I felt when I first saw it as a 14-year-old or whatever I was. When I first saw it, I was like, oh shit, that's cool. And it was really undeveloped. And I'll show you, right? What's interesting, I'm changing the subject sort of. When it was so interesting to me, that part. I have a feeling Birdie and Spinner may not be too proud of the video because it looks, in comparison to today, it might be like, oh geez, it was a bit embarrassing because it was all kind of undeveloped. But to me, they should be proud of it.
It was cool
because And plus, when you look at it, right,
that's cool.
There's early footage of also the Electric Troopers who won the Beat Street breakdance competition.
Okay, yes,
right? They're from Melbourne or Victoria or whatever.
Yeah.
Early footage of them, and it seems like these guys, Steve and Birdie and that, got this style that looks kind of aerobic-y. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't six-step, it wasn't kicking around. It was like this Cossack-y style looking thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will get to it, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that where all that stuff came from, but anyway, my point is how, why was WA so advanced? Why were there not other crews in inverted commas forming or being represented in this Flashdance competition? My point is, it's possible that at the early stages we were more exposed to hip-hop, possibly. Maybe that's a controversial thing for me to say, but I'm using this countdown competition as my example.
Yeah.
How come two DJs from WA had all that stuff down?
Yes.
And the rest of them were still kind of floundering with the jogging on the spot with the leg warmers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I first saw that, and Steve and Birdie will, rap to a winner, and so they should be. My point is, did they just ignore us because we're so far away? Is there a possibility that we were exposed to it slightly earlier? Maybe not, because when you look,
I don't know.
And it's so interesting, the Australian hip hop scene.
Yeah,
because there's also the Autocrats. Do you remember the Autocrats?
Yeah, vaguely. I remember the name.
They had early footage on like the Mike Walsh show, right?
Oh yes.
Right?
Yeah, they were really good. Yeah.
How come they didn't enter or represent Australia in that comp? Like maybe they were signed or something, because they seemed like they were a bit ahead, a bit more professional. So maybe they blow my argument out of the water. Maybe they were ahead. I don't know.
I think when the movie Breakdance, the first one that came out, I think there was like a preview, a sneak preview, maybe like in December, at the end of '83.
Right.
And some people had seen it and just like us got into it, but it was like, they knew this thing that, because we hadn't seen the movie yet, because until you had actually seen the movie, it's kind of impossible for someone to explain what it is.
Yes, yeah.
But, people were like, no, you should see it. I think you really like it. It's got all dancing and rah, rah, rah. So like everyone else, I walked in there as one person and came out, and I was, I changed the way I define myself to this day after walking into that one movie. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then and if that was, the kindergarten or the primary school, then Beat Street was uni. You didn't have to go on, but we were so invested. Yeah. Well, that clip we did, Pushing a Broom, they say like that's the first Australian hip hop clip, video clip. At the time, we didn't know that. How could it? We hadn't really seen any, but we weren't so brash to think that we were going to be the first doing anything. The same when me and Steve did, me and Cut and Ice did Time to Collect.
Yep.
As far as they know, they can't find another solo hip-hop album that was recorded or released before that. But at the time, we were just trying to be the first in WA. We weren't even, And then over the years, me and Steve would talk about it, and I'd say, I don't think there was anything before it. And then obviously Dale Dixon has dug right in, and he sort of said, no, there wasn't.
Wow.
And he's collected hundreds mixtapes and just everything. He's really looked into it. And I'm not saying that to say that there should be a special day for us or something like that. But all I'm saying is that everything happens for a reason. We all were drawn to the music, and from there the dancing, and that then evolved to the art and the making beats and scratching records and writing rhymes and rocking shows, and once you kind of started, it just kept going, and it was a lot of fun. Okay, it's your question, why we weren't considered. I don't know. Maybe we're too far. It was a lot easier to know what was happening in Melbourne and Sydney than to, because all they know is there's a desert between us and them, and a big desert. That's all they really know. They don't, it's like if someone told you about Karratha and you've never been there, or told you about, Wyndham or somewhere. It was the catalyst of everything that was to come. You know what I mean? Someone had to pick up the ball and run it. And then when they couldn't run it anymore, someone else come along. You know what I mean? We were kind of like at that. We were pumping the ball. You know what I mean? We were the ones like that did it, and then almost overnight, crews were popping up. Other DJs popped up, other rappers popped up, and it evolved into a scene, man. It evolved into the scene that is in Perth today, which is now a really a world-class scene, in my opinion. There's a lot of great talent in the city, and it's sort of like it's Perth's turn. You know what I mean?
Is that what you feel?
Well, I think so, man. Perth's got, there's just so much. There's so much, man. There's so much good stuff in Perth, There's so many people into it. I mean, of course, there's obviously stuff that maybe I might not like or may not be to my taste. But I've seen enough good stuff to know that, in my opinion, I think Perth punches above its weight, man.
Sure.
Yeah. Even if you just look at the stats over like the last maybe 10 years or 15, 20 years, Perth has got a lot of credibility for its music and its artists, man.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Like the first 10 years, kind of got covered over, got washed over. But that's sometimes archaeologists have to come and dig it up, man.
Yeah. 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 And the funny thing about that, pushing a broom, doing that track, that's still pretty fresh in my memory. It doesn't even feel like it was that long ago. Alex Viveris playing guitar on it.
Yeah. I remember we were in a studio, but it was kind of like a open air. It wasn't like you go in a little room.
It was SAE. It was School of Audio Engineering. It was near the police station in East Perth.
Oh my God! That's a blur. I just remember being in this room and
Wickham Street. I remember the street it was on, right?
Wickham Street.
Right.
That's right.
It was on that hill. I remember sitting in the car park listening to it with the engineer. After he did the mixdown, he went back into his car.
Now, did he have a big desk, or was it like a little?
Huge.
It wasn't a little. Okay.
Because the School of Audio Engineering.
Yeah.
So it was all big here.
Yeah, it was a desk, right?
Yeah.
That was Yeah, man. Because I've been to Poon's Head, and you know, a couple other places, and it's always an experience. You know, Planet, recorded some stuff in Studio B there. Yeah, it's all an experience. It's, you know, 4-track, recorded on a 4-track. It's all, you know.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, it was such a long time ago. It wasn't. I don't know, man. It just came together. I can't even remember. You know, you had to do a video clip as your assignment for TAFE, and you said, let's just do a clip for a song, and we had songs, but we didn't have songs that weren't on instrumentals. Like, all of our songs were kind of just using other people's instrumentals, so that was kind of the first time. I could be wrong.
But did we record it for the video, or did we just record the song?
No, for the video.
Did we?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why we went to the studio.
That's why I went to the studio.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we wanted it to be, you know, good quality. And
That's right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was it was, man, when you look back to it, it holds its ground still.
Does it?
I think so,
okay,
man. It's clean as hell, man. It's clean.
All right.
You know, it sounds like hip hop. It doesn't, you know,
I remember
it doesn't sound like some goofy ass motherfuckers that don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And that would be embarrassing if that was the first Australian hip hop video clip and it was whack as hell.
Yeah.
I would hate that.
Yeah.
I would, you know. But it was, you know, when you listen back to it, I mean, of course, we always think we could make it better. Of course we do. And of course we can. But at that time, that was it.
Yeah.
Whatever skills we had,
yeah,
that was the best that we could do at that time. You know what I mean? We were listening to Mantronic, so we were influenced by that. We were just trying to, you know, just be different, just stand out. You know?
But by that stage, we had already been doing weekly gigs at Jules for a while. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this was after all that. Not after. It was during.
During. Yes, it was during.
Do you remember? I was just thinking.
Why you got to bring that up?
Do you know what I'm laughing at?
I don't know.
After we did the video,
yes,
right?
Yes.
By that, oh jeez, it's funny, right?
Yes.
Because it's only you and me, right?
Yes.
We're not pulling any other names out of the hat.
No.
We had to shoot the video in 2 sessions, and the first session we all did together. That's why you're in the video. But then I had to do the intro, and then you had to do a gas course.
Oh yeah.
And we had this big argument. I was like, "Shit, man, you gotta fucking turn up and do the filming for the second session." You're like, "No, I gotta do this gas course. I promised my dad." And we had a big falling out. So then after when we did the video. Yeah. We didn't practice the following week for our live gig at Jules. So we just said, right, let's just fucking play the video on the video machines and we'll mime it.
Yes.
And Birdie said to us, no, don't do it because it's not set up really well. And then we got really drunk, as we always did, and then we just pressed play on the VHS.
Yes.
And the audio was like shit, and everyone started chucking ice at us. And then I remember pulling the record off the turntable and using it to protect my head from the ice as we were running out of Jules. And then I remember lying in that alleyway, lying down, looking up at the stars and going, what the fuck did we just do? And all of a sudden we started talking because we were arguing as we always did, as those kids do. But then when you're all getting ice thrown at you, you have to chat again after that because so we knew our gig was gone after that. So
okay. My recollection is we wanted to play the clip.
Yes.
And we wanted the clip to start, and then we would actually do our set. I don't remember the miming part, and because it wasn't synced. Which now when you think about it, it wasn't really a big deal, but for some reason that caused the argument because we were blaming you and it had nothing to do with you, and either way, it wasn't even a big deal.
No, it wasn't.
You know,
Yeah.
but we had this big argument over it, and that's what I remember. I do remember people swearing. I don't know if it was on that night. and I do remember the manager, sacking us at some point.
It was that night.
Was it that night?
Yeah, definitely.
After the launch of our video clip.
No, it was during the launch, actually. That's funny.
Yeah, no, that was, I do remember, like I said, that's what I mean, when we first got the gig, it was so much fun. We were getting paid, we were getting free entry, we get our friends in for free, we were getting free drinks, everyone knew us, we were cool with everyone. Half of the Jules crowd was the Forest Place crowd. All the Anglo-Indians and the Burmese from Forest Place, they were all at Jules. Street Force and all those guys, Mark Rowland and everyone was there. So it was just so much fun. But then after a while, I think we started sort of like, as soon as we'd finish our set, we'd want to leave, and you know what I mean?
It was like that, yeah.
It wasn't, it started becoming not as much fun, and we were like, we were doing the radio show, then we'd drive from Fremantle, we'd do the gig at Jules, and then instead of staying till 3, 4, 5 in the morning running amok, we would be like, oh, let's go, I'm gone.
Yeah, it was like that, wasn't it? Yeah. Because it became a job.
It became a job, yeah, it did become a job.
Which is inevitable if you've got to be somewhere because people are expecting something.
Yeah, and coming up with fresh material every week. Every week. It's not real. Like after a few weeks, you start repeating. It's
Because don't forget that Saturday started early because we'd go do Toffee Rocks. Right?
God, so much was happening there.
Toffee Rocks, and then we would drive to my parents' place, and then we would come up with the track.
Yes.
And then we'd have dinner, and then we'd hop in the car, and then we'd go to Scratch FM, and we'd do it live at the end of the show.
Yes.
As a quick practice.
Yeah.
And then we'd hop in the car, and then we'd drive to Jules, and then we'd do it.
Yeah.
And that's what we'd do every Saturday.
Yeah, it was full on.
And it was full on.
It was full on, but it had to be done, and all of those are the sort of things that push the scene, because like from Toffee Rocks, other rappers came down because we would do our set at Toffee Rocks, and it was at a stage where no one had even seen anyone do something that we were doing. A DJ and a rapper.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
And we were just doing it because, I don't know why we were doing it, but we were doing it because that's what we loved doing, and we were getting gigs, and we were doing radio, and we had that little, underage hip-hop gig, block party every Saturday, and then I think the first week all these cats come down, they saw us, and then the second week there was like a line of 10 rappers lining up to battle me.
That's true.
One, Perfexi, Dion, Skank, probably Showbiz was in, Brad Hanna. It was crap, but that was the birth of the scene, man.
Yeah, it was.
Everyone, there was a pecking order, and everyone wanted to be the top pecker.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and from there, the scene just kept evolving. It never really stopped evolving. Then there was a stage where me and you went our separate ways, but then that created more crews.
Yeah, it did. That's exactly what happened.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
You guys went and recorded your own tracks and were doing your own gigs. Me and Steve started doing our stuff. And then from there it just kept multiplying and multiplying, and most of us knew each other.
Yeah,
that was the strange thing.
Yeah.
Like Mick told me that Malcolm would get the tapes from Steve, and then would take them to Mick and or Deadly Fresh. What's the other guy name? Giles, Chris Giles, and
all those,
and Too Shy, and because they were all in high school, man.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever I would do with Steve, he would run back and, you know, they'd listen to the radio show and study it, and you know, we did the same, but it wasn't people. It was just, you know, catch the beat, and that uni station used to play hip hop at about 3 a.m.
Yeah. I can't remember what the name of that show was.
Yeah.
But I remember it.
Black and Blue, or
Black and Blue. It was a magazine, wasn't it? Blues and Soul. Blues and Soul was a magazine. Black and Blue. I think it was Black and Blue. Yeah, you're right.
You told me about it. You know?
Yeah.
And obviously Curtis on Catch the Beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Perth scene is, if I was going to break it down, obviously it started. I mean, okay, we got Forest Place, but even before Forest Place, you had those discos where you know, Birdie would DJ and Says Say, rest in peace, and those guys like Beethoven's.
Yes.
So I think, you know, there were cats there that were obviously starting to get into the popping and locking and the b-boying. So then when the movie came out in the end of 83, and then by 84, everyone was in Forest Place. It just became the, you know, the spot.
It did, yeah.
And every city had one.
Yeah.
Melbourne had one, Sydney had one. They all had this place where you'd go there and, oh, everyone's spinning on their head here. This is cool, you know. And then, like, within the Perth scene, from that's where the first DJ, yourself, MC, myself, all the riders, all the b-boys, the poppers, the promote, like it was kind of, I feel like that was the initial. That was the egg that we all cracked out of that egg, and you know, some of us are still doing shit, man. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a good thing. And you know, why did we do it? I don't know, man. There was something that was within us that made us make that commitment to want to do anything. Because you know, most people don't do anything. They just exist.
Sure.
But we had something that was driving us.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and not just us, but everyone around us. Everyone was doing something.
Yeah.
You know, but people were showing photos of their art. You know, we were making mixtapes. We were battling people. The b-boys were still rocking. It was a cool scene, man.